What's up, guys? Hey, Montreal, Canada, getting ready for UFC 315. And honestly, press conferences, press conferences during the fight week, eh, they're not always the most valuable. But today I'm going to get into some big news that we got from yesterday's press conference. But first, today's episode, as always, is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. They're in your corner with unlimited 5G data that will not slow you down. Guys, press conferences. Okay. Generally, it's a bit mundane, and you go there, and the guys kind of argue. Sometimes you might get a shoving match, but the highs in most of these press conferences are from the fight that's happening right there, right now, and it's the bad blood between the two. Some of the more fun press conferences I've been a part of or have seen was, Jones and I had some interesting press conferences. We threw things at each other down in Texas once. Khabib leaving when Conor was late for a press conference was a fun one. When Conor called Jeremy Stevens or said, "Who is that guy?" was also an interesting one. But it's always usually surrounding the fights, right? Guys yelling, going back and forth. Yesterday's press conference, it wasn't necessarily surrounding the fight. The big news was Dana White got put on the spot. And let me tell you something about Dana. He shared something, but he only shares what he wants to. So while it may seem like he's put on the spot, he was forced to answer, it's not the case. Dana White knows what he wants to tell and what he's willing to tell. So by him answering this question, Dana, Ilia Topuria said, I don't know the words, said he's going to fight either Islam or Charles Oliveira for the title in June, International Fight Week. Is this true? Or is it accurate? And Dana goes, that's pretty accurate, right? So essentially, that clip that we saw, Luis, play the clip of Ilia Topuria on that Spanish TV show speaking about his fight at International Fight Week.
Y que será en Las Vegas el 28 de junio. Y es que todavía no sabes contra quién vas a pelear.
No, que es Islam y es Charles.
Si es Makhachev, te va a intentar tirar al suelo. Y tú dices,
claro,
tú dices que el suelo es un punto.
Intentarlo y conseguirlo hay una gran diferencia.
As you see there, the interviewer is asking Topuria who he's fighting, but Topuria is saying he doesn't know who yet, right? And he starts to kind of talk about matchups, and Ilia is like, well, trying to take me down and taking me down is two different things. We're going to see what happens. When I heard this earlier in the week, the reason we didn't do a video was because a lot of guys have been talking, right? There's been a lot of talk surrounding lightweight, but nothing has really happened. Now something's happening. And this weekend's fight became much more interesting for a number of reasons. First off, welterweight championship of the world is on the line, so it's an important fight. But the result of this weekend dictates two different weight classes. Makhachev has openly spoke about wanting to fight at 170. Chael Sonnen said that many in the weight class already recognize that. When Islam comes, we'll have to take a step back. He said Ian Gary publicly stated that. What I didn't know is how close he was to actually getting the opportunity to do that, to actually challenge for the welterweight championship of the world, and that the only roadblock was Belal Muhammad. So when Belal Muhammad said earlier this week, dude, just schedule your fight. It's all good. I'm winning. You didn't realize that Islam's literally standing on the doorstep of a championship fight. And the only reason he's not going in to fight is because his friend, Belal Muhammad, is the champion. Jack Della Maddalena wins this weekend. Islam's getting a title fight. That's what Dana told us last night. Dana told us last night at that presser that if Makhachev and Della Maddalena for the welterweight championship is a possibility, they are taking that. And exactly what Ilia Topuria told you, he will then fight Charles Oliveira for the UFC lightweight championship. Now, has anybody been luckier than Du Bronx? Because Du Bronx actually lost his title shot. Shot went to Arman. Charles gets beat by Arman, beats Michael Chandler. Supposed to fight for the Arman's supposed to fight for the belt. In steps Moicano. Oliveira then gets pushed to the back, it feels like, because then here comes Ilia. Arman needs a shot. Now it's going to be him if Islam Makhachev goes up. And if Islam Makhachev isn't able to go up and Belal retains the championship, now you get Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Dude, this whole thing, right, is so exciting to me, not only as an insider of this thing, but as just a general fan. Because now you have seriously, by saying 5 words, what Ilia said is pretty accurate. Ilia said was pretty accurate. Like 5 words. He said 5 words. And it literally involved 5 different fighters with like 4 potential outcomes. That's crazy. You saw Hunter Campbell in Dagestan earlier in the week. You knew that for him to go there, he had to be doing big business. Big business. To travel all the way over there to speak with those guys. It feels like now we're finally getting closer to what's next. I know earlier, Makhachev said didn't want to fight Topuria. I wonder what those conversations were like to come to some sort of agreement to make that fight happen if Belal keeps the championship. I also found it very interesting that he was speaking this publicly, Makhachev, saying, if Jack gets the belt, I want a title fight. Crazy turn of events in that regard. For Islam to be willing now to change his mind, to me, different. I've said this time and time again. Normally, when these guys make a decision, they're very stern in the way that they behave when it comes to that decision. Khabib still should be fighting today. But because he made a decision, he stuck with it. And now he's been retired for 5 years. It's crazy.
Look, the boy's a double champ. I'm your favorite podcaster. And now I'm an official role partner. Fellas, whether you're in or you're out of that bedroom with your partner, significant other, you got to satisfy those needs. It's as important as it comes, guys. And one thing about Ro, when you're in that bedroom, Ro Sparks got you back with his long-lasting functionality. 2-in-1 prescription treatment for guys who just want a little more control of those erections. You know them old thing get away from you every now and again if you're not careful. And it don't take long either, because after they dissolve, they work in about 15 minutes on average. Hey, I love that. You gonna love that. So if prescribed, new sexual health patients, you get $15 off of your first order of Sparks on a recurring plan. So connect with a provider at ro.co/DCTV to find out if prescription Ro Sparks are right for you. That's ro.co/DCTV for $15 off of your first order. Hey, y'all don't have to thank me yet, but you will thank me later when you get on those Ro Sparks. Let's go.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to hear that conversation in terms of how do we get you to fight Topuria, or how do we get you to commit to fighting at 170? I know Islam's not afraid of anyone. I know Ilia is not afraid of anyone. Those guys will fight anybody. I'm just happy that now we've finally gotten to a point where we understand who is fighting who. So, International Fight Week. It's one of the biggest fight cards of the entire year. And we have been waiting to kind of understand and know what the hell is going on. How could it be so short that we don't know yet? Hell, I actually thought, guys, that not only did Hunter go there to talk to Islam, I thought Hunter was over there trying to talk to Magomed Ankalaev and see if he might be available. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. I do believe that I love Alex Pereira, but I don't think it was hacked. I don't believe the hack story. I believe that Alex Pereira probably got the news that someone else was going to fight for the belt, reacted, then this thing with Makhachev worked out to where it doesn't need to happen, so now he's okay. Hey, call me a rumor spreader, say I'm messy, I don't care. I think that he was presented a chance to fight on the international fight. Probably wasn't ready. I'm not going to go fight a guy that just beat me when I'm not getting a full training camp. Okay, well, we're going to give the fight to someone else. He reacts. All the while, this thing with Islam and Ilia and Bilal and Jack and Charles, that's all in the works, right? It never stops. But when that comes to fruition, the 205-pound fight, okay, it's not necessarily needed. Okay? We're going to do this thing at 155, so you're fine. We can wait until you fight. I got hacked. That's my opinion. Pereira might be mad at me. I don't know. But that's what I think happened, if I'm being completely honest. But obviously, it all works well because Pereira does deserve an opportunity to fight for the belt. He should be next. So I'm glad that it worked out in the way that it did, if that was the case. I'm turning into jail. I'm actually just telling you my opinions now at this point. But what we do know for sure, Ilia Topuria is fighting on June 28th, just like he said. He will stand across the octagon from either Islam Makhachev or Charles Oliveira. Saturday became much more important for two weight classes. What's your preference? Tell me in the comments. What's your preference? Is your preference on June 28th to see Islam versus Ilia Topuria? Or is your preference to see Islam Makhachev stand across the octagon from Jack Della Maddalena down the line to become a two-division champion? Here's one thing that's become very apparent, though. The UFC is not doing double champs anymore. You've seen it. Ilia said he wanted to go up and fight for the belt. He vacated. Islam's waiting for Saturday because if he decides he wants to go up and fight for the belt, he's going to have to vacate because Charles and Ilia will fight for that belt in June. The UFC has now taken a hard stance against double champions. They don't want one belt or one person holding up two weight classes. Not everybody's Amanda Nunes. Not everybody's willing to fight between two weight classes. And it's a hard thing to do. And you could tell they've taken that stance. That's why Islam's having to wait for Saturday's result. Saturday night, a lot of things will either change or stay the same. With Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena, which has now become an even bigger fight than it was before. And I can't wait. Look, big news, press conferences. I usually don't watch them. Thank goodness I was watching it yesterday to see Dana get that question. But again, he didn't get tricked. He knew you'd be willing to share that. He's much too sharp to get tricked in that way. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, thank you to Total Wireless and all of our sponsors for always holding the boy DC down. Until next time, like, subscribe, and tell your friends about my YouTube channel and tell them that I'm doing things like this and my DC check-ins. Hey, and get ready for that post-fight reaction on Saturday night because guess what? I'm going to have a lot to talk about. There's going to be some clarity between two weight classes after the fights this weekend. Crazy. Until next time, peace.